Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us on WZRD MC Zulu, Dominique Rowland.
Yeah, Dominique Rowland.
Dominique Rowland. How,
Yes, ma'am.
how are you today? What do you like to be called a Zulu? Or how,
It ends up being whatever people are comfortable with. So
okay,
I'm fine with all of it. Yeah, Dominique Zulu.
Dominique Zulu. And
Yes, whatever. Whatever.
so tell us about the electronic reggae that electro reggae that you started.
Oh, you know what? You heard of that? That's awesome. I can't say I started it. I was just in I'm in the DNA of the entire thing. So what that is basically mixing reggae vocals with dance music. And there are a lot of people who have done it. I mean, shout out to Maximilian, Mad Stuntman. There are a few names out there that, aren't always, they're kind of unsung. This is kind of an offshoot of reggae.
Why did you decide to do a cappella?
For me, the acapellas are, I think they're gold. I think an acapella is something that people can use in perpetuity. You know what I mean? Like I put my acapellas out and I allow people to just make their own song with it. That's why mostly, I see what I do as more of a spoken word type poetry thing.
And when you started in music, how young were you?
Well, I was probably around 18, and I'm still 18 right now, by the way. Just so everyone knows, everyone watching.
So what made you start? Well, what inspired you to start music?
I think I was a medic in the army, and when I got out of the army, everyone was calling me Shaba because that was the big music that was playing at the time. I have the slight accent, so I looked into it more and just figured, my voice matches these vocal patterns. And I don't know if you know about reggae, but it went from being very melodic to staccato, where it's like it's a rhythmic way of expressing yourself. And I found that to be very easy, so I gave it a shot, and people liked it, so I kept doing it.
Did you have musical influences, or did you have a message that you wanted to speak and somehow you found a medium for it?
A little bit of both. Bob Marley, of course, a big musical influence. Shabba Ranks, big musical influence. Everyone who was doing music like right around the early 90s. That's when I got into it. And I was working with the hip hop scene in Chicago. That's how I met our mutual friend, Mark Armstrong, because I would go from club to club, singing over whatever the DJ was playing. So it wasn't necessarily a conscious thing that I said, I'm going to mix these genres. It's just like, hey, I can sing over that. So I just started doing it.
Did you have other artists that were like you that sang over the DJs, or were you the only one?
There was another guy in town named DJ Collage, and he became Mr. Chapman. And it's funny because we were able to gain this worldwide. I won't say following, but at least there was a base of people who knew what we were doing and appreciated it.
What parts of the world is your music known?
Oh, it's everywhere. If you want to hear it, you can find it everywhere, and that's a good thing. Like I feel like the industry kind of caught up to us and the things that we wanted to do because there was a time when you could only be a local artist, and then with the technology and the way things are going now, you can gain a fan base anywhere. Antarctica, um, I've been pretty much to many places all over the world, every continent except Antarctica.
Oh, okay. That was my
Yeah,
next question. Antarctica too.
yeah.
Well, when you were doing a lot of a cappella, you were singing over the DJs, but later your a cappella lyrics were uh, being used by the beat makers. So how did that happen?
Um, that's just because I put them out for free, essentially. I was just allowing people to, if you sign up to my email newsletter, you could get like 3 albums worth of acapellas. And from that, I just became this like reggae 2.0 type artist where thousands of people were just downloading those acapellas and using them in the way that they saw. And you know, it's like a gift to the universe for me, but it's also my gift because anyone who feels like they appreciate what I do, I appreciate that.
Did you were you able to make any money from making your acapellas available?
The money that I would make was when I would travel to different countries and then I would get paid for the show.
Okay.
But I should always be honest because I want to be honest with artists. I also work as a nurse. I'm a pediatric nurse and I do hospice. And I've always kept that job because when you're doing art, there will come a time when art will pay you in ways that you never thought possible. But it's sporadic and it's very difficult to attain. And I have made just like really good money doing this thing as an artist. But then there are times when I would go long stretches of time without getting paid. So it's a little bit more evident now that you need to have something to cover your life. But initially, what was presented to us was the idea that you could make it as an artist, and that would just be the thing. And now we're finding out that there are conditions that go with that. And I'm so glad I stayed independent.
When you with your work as a pediatric nurse, are you able to use any of those experiences in your acapellas in your art?
Yeah, I actually have, and I have to because I see a lot of sad things, and I put it in the music. People don't know that because it's primarily dance music I'm doing, but I can tell a story of something that I saw and pitch a best case scenario to people just on a mass communicating way, in a way of mass communicating,
Does it help
and
you
and
heal?
they don't realize it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, say that again.
Does it help you heal? Some of the maybe sometimes you get traumatized by what you see, get depressed by what you see. Does applying what you've seen and what your experiences to your music, does that help you heal at all?
It definitely does. Every few years, sometimes a patient of mine will have a situation that's less than optimal, and I have to quit nursing for a few months or a year. It's just been like that off and on because it's just too much. There's a lot of things out here. There are a lot of things out here that you know there shouldn't be. You know what I mean? And just the way I use art is to right these wrongs within myself and then inform people of better possibilities.
Some of these situations that traumatize you, do they involve children and gun violence and being victims of crime?
If you can imagine it, it involves it. And I thought when I was in the army, I would see some crazy stuff, but you know, the depths of human depravity have no limits. And what I'm saying and what I'm thinking and talking right now is not necessarily the most marketable thing. So I understand why it's kept me kind of at a certain level because no one wants to put that out there. But the people who are putting that out there a lot of times are involved in what's happening. And thank God I've had minimal exposure to them.
You say that you have to step away sometimes, months at a time, to recover from losing a patient. Do you find that your fellow pediatric nurses, does everybody in that profession eventually have to go through that?
Well, you can tell when they have an outlet, and you can tell when they don't. The economy is the other thing that we should really be paying attention to because that determines behavior. So if you go to a place where the economy is stable, then you don't see these kinds of things. If you go to a place where the economy is not stable, then you can't leave your phone around, you can't leave your bag because it'll be gone, etc. And then there's everything else that goes with that, right? So what we have to do is kind of look at the causes. What has caused the economy to be better in one area as opposed to another? And then that allows us to have a certain empathy towards the people who we're dealing with. But some nurses are just like, I need to have a job. I'm going to work. And you can hear how it wears them down.
Well, you seem to be a deep thinker, and you realize that there are causes that affect the economy. Do you ever address these causes in your songs?
Oh yeah, 100%. But I found that it would get me in trouble doing that. So I was a lot more popular than I am now, I think, at a certain time. But they caught on to me. And I started getting shadow banned on social media. I started, losing my website got hacked. My Wikipedia page was taken down and stuff like that. And, you know, I responded by hiding the message in metaphors. And if you can figure out what I'm saying, great. If not, just dance to it. So that's what I do now.
Yes. So as soon as so at first you were more overt in your message, but now you have to speak in metaphors. And when you were overt, you got a lot of this pushback, even the hacking of your website. Okay, well that is kind of relevant to what's happened to me before because I was on social media and then I was always just looking for solutions and being positive, and then I got hacked.
Yeah, okay,
And
yeah.
as I got more prominent, I got hacked. So,
Okay. And they think we're crazy when we say that, and it's just like, when it happens to you, you'll understand.
mhm.
But I think the people who are trying to make the world better, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. But if we just do our part and don't be too frustrated with the process,
Mhm.
because you can only make incremental progress. You're supposed to live your life, and then you're supposed to contribute a little bit to your fellow human being. So just contribute that little bit and be happy with that. You are not given the entire world to change, so you can't change the world.
That's so true. Do you work with veterans?
Um, yeah, I actually did a song with a veteran that's being released today.
Mhm. Yes.
Shout out to my man Z. He did a remix of a song called "Lose Control" that I put out a while ago.
Mhm.
And it's a nice one. I'm gonna have all these links with this interview on my website, electroreggae.com.
Okay. When you so at first it was your lyrics and then he did the remix, right?
Yeah, he just, he's a person who is very talented and he's a multifaceted person too. Like he does counseling, I believe, with the reserves right now. That's something that's very necessary. You sometimes need people to talk through the situations that you go through.
Does Could you explain again, like deeper, how do they who helps the people to talk through these situations?
Well, the friend that I'm working with doing music, he's a counselor. So I imagine he's doing a lot with that. As far as I was concerned, I didn't, if I find somebody as a veteran, a lot of times develop this sense of, we develop this holistic sense of how things impact the world. So I get along well with them. So I find them, training martial arts. I find them, in healthcare, find them in technology, which is another thing that interests me. I like to build websites for people and stuff like that. And there are a lot of veterans just doing this kind of work. And we go in to this military thinking one thing, and then we come out with basically a knowledge of what's real. Those of us who are paying attention, and for me, I was kind of an in and out person. I appreciate the training. I still draw on it, and you know, I use that now to help people. Just the idea of a regiment. That's something I definitely got from the military. And but I was not a lifer, and I'm not someone who is even connected to the military in any way to where I would do like a veterans outreach or anything like that. But I have contributed money.
Are there many veterans in your field of art in electro reggae?
Yeah, Shaggy was is a I'm not saying he's an electro reggae artist. He's more dancehall, but
Uh,
he was a Marine veteran. And he was like the shining example of how you can you know bring that balance.
so does the military training help in any way with the dance music? Is there any does it help?
Yeah, it does. It helps with everything. If you listen to any authority figure who's really trying to mold you into something that's more than what you are, then you can draw on that for the rest of your life. And the military is no different. There's a lot of indoctrination and stuff like that because they have to answer the same question for a varying range of people, a varying range of intelligence. There's some really smart people in the military, and there's some people who just need to do as they're told. So the training, if you listen to it, you can take it elsewhere. The way I make the most of it is through being able to juggle a lot of things at once. So I can be a nurse, I can be a realtor, got my real estate license. I can be a musician, you know what I'm saying? I can do all these different things in one day. I can work on technology. And pretty much every day I have to do that, and you set aside the time to do it. And the only way you can compartmentalize is if you are disciplined.
And military instills that discipline.
Oh yeah, it does. My father was a military guy. He instilled that discipline, and then I fought it like crazy. Then I went into the military and found out it has merits. So
Why did you join the military?
for me, I was so bad I didn't have any other choices. Honestly, like when I grew up, the reason why they called me MC Zulu is because I was being picked on. It was the '80s and the kids were a little racist, and they called me Shaka Zulu. I came from Panama when I was 8, and I became a little terror. And by the time I graduated high school, I got like a National Merit Letter of Accommodation, recommendation, or whatever. But I was one of those who had the intelligence, but I was rebellious, and all my friends were like that too. So my thing was to go in the military. Some of my friends went on to college; they got master's degrees and doctorates, and we're all doing well. But it was just an example. It shows how when you're mistreated, and we were mistreated because we were the military kids living in a rich area. So when you're mistreated, you kind of you give that same energy back. And by the time I had returned so much of that energy, the military was my only option. Thank God I went to be a medic. Okay, so I was not interested in hurting him. I wanted to help you. So that's why I chose medic. It was perfect.
So you were a military family. You had to move from base to base with your dad as he was assigned to different bases. Is that what
Yeah,
it was? Oh, okay.
yeah, for some time. But once we got to Fort Sheridan in Highland Park, he had a lot of clout. So we were able to stay there for like a decade, you know, and I grew up in that area. And you know where Fort Sheridan is, right? Are you familiar with Chicago? Like,
I'm familiar with Chicago, but for all the military bases where they are, not
uh,
like with the back of my not on the back of my hand. No.
oh, that's cool. It's a little bit further north. Right there, it's in the middle of a place called Highland Park.
Hmm. I know
Um,
Highland Park.
very, yeah, very affluent people, and then we rode this green military bus to school, and we were teased relentlessly for that, and everything that went with it. I mean, all this stuff makes you can act like you were traumatized, but when you get older, you see real trauma. You see people really going through it, and I'm thankful for the upbringing I had, especially when I got out in the world and saw, some of the things that I wouldn't even mention it. Like I wouldn't even want to mention
So when you started your a cappella at these clubs over the DJ music,
it.
was that before you went into the military?
That was after.
After?
Yeah, they were calling me Shabba Ranks in the military,
Uh-huh.
and I said, let me try this out. And I was in the military still trying to do it, but I was terrible. My first 100 songs were probably unusable. I finally found my voice after a while.
Mhm. Well, you didn't give up because you knew that there was a ways to be heard, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to be part of it, I never figured like, okay, this is going to be the big money thing. And anytime that I did make a lot of money, I was so happy. But I just wanted to be part of the movement because I could see that you are able to communicate ideas of, being better to individuals and to speak to more than one person.
When did you when you were a cappella-ing,
Mhm.
uh, when did you first make a lot of money? You said that when you make a lot of money, made a lot of money, you were so happy. But what was it? Which do you remember what it was that helped make you a lot of money the first time?
It's a consistency, you know. If you just keep doing it, and I should say like acapella is not necessary. The way the word is being used it means like church. So yeah, and what that means is when you hear oh no Padre Espiritu Santo, that kind of stuff, they're singing without music. They're singing in the way that they would sing in church. And that speaks to the vocals that I would do. I would take the vocals out of the session and all you would hear is just the vocals. And then that's what I would send out to people. So they wanted to put their own music behind it. But when it's live and you're doing it a cappella like that, it's more dynamic and you can't do it exactly as you recorded it. You kind of have to change the pitch, the key, the timing, and the cadence. So it's an entirely new performance at that point. So I've
Because
never really repeated a performance.
yeah, because you unless the DJ told you what he or she was going to play, you wouldn't know what the DJ would be playing, and then you would have to invent lyrics to sing over what the DJ is playing.
Yeah, exactly. And they never tell you. So, I would use sometimes, I mean, I use the same lyrics. Sometimes I come up with new stuff on the spot, but for the most part, there's already so many variables. I'm drawing the same lyrics out and changing again, the pitch, tempo, timing, all that stuff. And then sometimes I can see, like, I feel what's happening in the audience. And I go through like a Rolodex of something I've written that I think will reach them and inspire them. You know what I mean? So it's more of that than to just like make it up on the spot and brag about myself. I don't do much of that.
So you read the audience, you could tell a little bit when they react, what parts of your performance they react most positively to, and then you give more of that to them.
Not so much that, but what do they need to hear? It goes deeper. If you're doing technology and you're making an algorithm, then that's how you would make that algorithm. What do they like? We'll give them more of that. But when you're doing performance art, just from my standpoint, the way I would approach it is what do these people need to hear? What can heal them? And even if they don't understand what I'm saying, if they go back later, somebody gets a recording, or if one person says, "All right, this is what he was saying," you know, even then, it still reaches the subconscious.
How do you decide? How could you tell what they need to hear?
It's all a hunch. There's no science to it. That's for sure. It's art. Art is guessing, and art is guessing and then giving up.
Okay. Because it seems as if you would need a lot of experience to just do that. But there had to be the beginning, like the first time you did that. Do you still remember the first time that you did that? What inspired you to just jump in and do a cappella? Uh,
Well,
mhm.
since we are in Chicago, I'll give shout outs to some friends. A guy named Spoji, another guy named Duro Wicks, and then of course Mark Armstrong, who arranged this interview. So I want to give those shout outs. But they're the ones who dragged me into. Spoji would put me on stage in the Metro, which is a place that I always revered, as kind of a breeding ground for Chicago talent, and you know, a wonderful place to display art. And when he was part of this group called Rubber Room, and Rubber Room is like they're Chicago royalty when it comes to hip hop. So I was very nervous. I thought I wouldn't do it right, and I just written some stuff that maybe I figure it wouldn't work. And my friend Brian O'Daniel helped me write something that was a little bit more lyrical. He called himself Dos. I'm giving a lot of shout outs because this is a Chicago based podcast, and I appreciate your patience with that. Okay.
Thank you. We
But
appreciate.
a lot of unsung heroes went into helping me do that. So, you know, I like to give credit where it's due.
So the first time when they drag you in there to do it, were you successful? Were you able to do a good performance, or did a better performance occur afterwards?
Well, I know in my heart that it wasn't good, but they liked it. So it worked, and I had the courage to continue. And I took the name from, like I said, what the kids were calling me back in the day, Shaka Zulu. Um, became MC Zulu, and I thought that fit because it was reaching back to the origins somehow of what I used to be. And I don't know if my family is from South Africa or anything like that, but it was just at a time when we were kind of ashamed to be African in the '80s, to the point where I would hear these mixtapes coming out of New York and starting to embrace that heritage. And everything just it combined, and before you know it, I was able to give convincing performances. And I'm still working on that. I'll still work on convincing myself that I can do it.
So bullying really bullying and racism, it really keeps you down, but you were able to overcome it.
It makes everyone tougher,
Mm.
and it brings people together. Because at some point you stand up and fight the bullies, and then you become friends because you realize it's like it wasn't worth it in the first place. And I became also a bully, and people stand up to me, and I become friends with them. That cycle continues itself until you get some good sense and stop it. And the way I was able to stop it is by showing consideration for other people.
In other words, you stood up to the bully because usually people who are bullies they were bullied themselves. So
Exactly.
are you able to share how you stood up to a bully?
Fighting.
Like-
Yeah. I fight like 3, 4 kids at the same time, beat all
Oh,
of them. And, you know, if I get angry, then, that kind of stuff can happen. But the only thing that would ever make me angry now is someone, antagonizing a person I care about. But I care about most people. So I would try to, mediate these situations instead of instead of being violent or whatever. And even, when I became the bully, I realized I never wanted to hurt anybody. So that's what paved the way for me to learn hard lessons I would get flipped over or thrown down because I was just bullying. And bullying is a psychological thing. I never meant for it to go physical when I was doing it. I would push people around and, ha ha, ha, look at this, I'm much stronger than you or whatever. And they turn the tables at the last minute and flip me over. That's how I got, that's how I learned to stop. But, in when it really boils down to it, I never wanted to hurt anyone. And the only time I did was when my back was pushed up against the wall. And, I study a lot of martial arts now to calm those inner feelings of even trying to prove myself because it's not something where I want to hurt somebody. It's more like I'm trying to be, big and bad and rough and tough, and everybody's going to know it. That too is a demon, and that leads you to a serious path of destruction.
So when you fought those three or four all at the same time, did you know any martial arts at that time?
No, I didn't. A little bit. You know, um, Nothing like what I just went on to learn. Bruce Lee was like one of my biggest heroes, so I spent my whole childhood pretending to be Bruce Lee, and then over time, I tried to make that a reality. Everything I pretended to be, I set out to do it, and I think you start off everything you're doing pretending to be that. You go make it real.
So what is what are your projects now? Are you mostly just doing your as before acapellaing and letting other artists remix or we are with the current artists, right? With with the remix that the control now. What is it again? The control.
Lose control. Yeah.
Yes, don't lose control. Yes. So that was intentional. The two of you worked together on this, right?
He's been working on that for a minute. I sent him just a list of songs that I did, and that's what I do with everyone. I just collaborate with people who are interested in what I'm doing, and just give it. Bless you. That's all right. So I collaborate with people and just send them the list of songs, and they return something good, and hopefully, like he happened to return that. Well, I wish I could offer you this water.
I got water, but
Oh, you got one, hugs.
yeah, just getting over a cold.
Oh yeah, yeah. He returned that at a time when it was advantageous. Like he sent me that on Veterans Day, so I'm going to make the most of it. Then I had this interview. It all lined up together. I think if you are proactive, then when opportunities present themselves, you're prepared for it.
So for Veterans Day, you had this prepped up. What about for other special days? Do how do you schedule your art and your work?
Um, I can't even lie and say that we planned it. It just worked out like that. It's like, oh man, I got an interview today. We put it all together. I don't schedule art because sometimes I get a song idea at 4 in the morning and I'm like tired, man. God. But it's a gift from the universe. So it's incumbent upon me to get up and sing that idea. But yeah, I don't plan anything. If I get a song idea at 4 in the morning, I get up and sing it into the telephone or the computer. And as soon as I'm finished with it, I put it on Bandcamp. And then later I'll put it out to Spotify and stuff like that. Bandcamp is the main thing for me.
So does it usually happen that inspiration comes in unplanned times?
I think when you go into your what they call the alpha state of thinking, then you're open to all manner of suggestion, uh, information flooding into your mind throughout the universe and coming from all ends of space and time.
Alpha is
So
when you're half awake, half asleep, like getting into into sleep. Is that what alpha is?
yeah, and that's when you are the most receptive to information that your rational mind puts a stop to. So if I say I want to be rich, and you got all million ideas in your mind telling you why you can't. Oh, well, I have this to do, I got to do this, and I got to do that. And you will actually set up a timeline that impedes your ability to achieve your goal. You know, most people say rich, but rich is not always well defined. So once you define exactly what you want and you leave it up to your mind and put yourself in that alpha state, then you're a lot more open to suggestions that will get you there. And you tuned into the frequency with other people who will get you there.
What of your songs would you say is most attuned to the universe?
I am like the alien walking among you with the secrets of how to conquer space and time. Take me to your leader now. I'll keep you dancing. When I jump on the rhythm, I will save mankind. That's a song called Ghetto Blaster.
Wow. Get a what?
Ghetto Blaster.
That's what I thought I heard. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And when did that come out? When did you create that?
I wrote that, quite a few years ago. You know, it got some favorable press from all over. And, that version was listed in, what is it? They said that if you want a glimpse as to what dancehall is going to sound like 10 years from now, this is just as good a guess as any. And it's like world music something. I forgot who said that, but that came out finally in like 2008. I wrote it in like 2006. But that's been my history, writing that kind of stuff or trying to, and expecting it to change people incrementally, to change the way, or at least make them more compassionate, more considerate.
There is those people that say that you have to set aside a certain amount of time every day to achieve your goals, so that you sit down to it and then concentrate on it and do something so that you have something that's achieved every day. But there's also that part that you have to let inspiration come to you. So how do you bring those two together?
It depends on the goal, okay? If it's a fitness goal or something like that, then that's mechanical. And all you have to do is figure out what you're going to do and get up at that certain time and do it. But when it comes to another goal, like loftier goals that have to do with income, sometimes you have to set aside days to do it. You can't just say, this time of day I'm going to concentrate on this. Unless it's become something that you don't have to put that much thought towards, then you can compartmentalize like that. But things that require thought sometimes have the lowest output in terms of pay, but the highest output in terms of spiritual rewards. So it's hard to say from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm going to make music, unless it's become a mindless pursuit. But as long as you're thinking about what you're going to make, you're thinking about it, that stuff occurs to you throughout the day. And you have to have the discipline to stop what you're doing and record it, record that inspiration. So it's just different approach to things, and depending on what the goal is.
I think I read before of writers when they try to write a book, they try to make sure that they set aside maybe 3 hours a day so that they actually dedicate that time to writing and not be distracted by anything else. So that's why I asked you that question.
Yeah, if I could do that in 3 hours, I would be so happy. It
Yes.
takes me forever sometimes.
Hmm. Of
And
course.
I hear that I'm not happy with what I did or whatever.
So when you do the acapella, it's not that you're in. Sometimes you are inventing the lyrics right away on the spot, but you say that mostly it's something that you have written before, and then you sing to whatever beat is playing.
Exactly. I put a lot of thought into the writing, so I don't want to waste that. I
Right.
don't want to go there to a show and then, brag about how good looking I am or what, or insult whoever's in front of me. That we've been taught to misuse our gifts, and not everybody's going to approach it like that. There's a time and place for everything, right? So if you think about the gangster element in music, we all have a little gangster in us if we pushed, far enough, and that's why we need that outlet. We love to hear that music, but that music, which is basically Saturday night music, let's face it, has been taken and has been programmed Monday through Friday from sun up to sundown. So that's how you skew a culture and make them behave in a certain way that is that's against their best interests. And that's what was done to us. And when I talk about looking at things and finding the reason, that's one reason. Then you have to look at who did it, and then you have to ask yourself why they would do that. Why would you take the gifts that these children have and basically pay them to ensure their own self-destruction? If uh if you were if you were giving out record deals right now for harmonies, we would be doing barbershop quartets, okay, on every corner. We are chasing financial gain, and that's the reason why we are the way we are. And we've been given this impetus to become a certain way, and that now that's all we know. That's all we know. So yeah, I take the stuff I wrote, which is, an example, you know, um, that I gave with the ghetto blaster. And I give that to people over and over. Every time you see me, I'm going to say that in one way, shape, or form. And if I change it, it's going to be a different pitch, or the lyrics will be different so that I'm not boring. You know what I mean? But that idea is coming your way every time you see me.
Have you ever been offered a record deal by these labels?
Not by a major label, by smaller labels, yeah, and it wasn't advantageous. The other thing is that I learned how to read contracts. So I would interpret the contracts for my friends who got deals and help them change this or that. Wasn't practicing law without a license. I was just letting them know what the legalese meant. Because when I came here, I only spoke Spanish. So I had to learn English from the dictionaries. And then, the kids making fun of me, I stopped speaking Spanish and kind of forgot it. But this dictionary type language stuck with me. And now I can write lyrics with it and I can interpret contracts with it.
So did you read a lot of Black's Law Dictionary?
Who is it?
Black's Law Dictionary. I think that that was like when before the internet there was the big heavy blue cover the Black's Law Dictionary. They had like
Oh,
all the legal terms.
oh no, you know what? Just the Merriam-Webster, I believe the name was.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, just that.
Well, that's sufficient as well. It does serve the purpose.
Now I'm going to look into the Black's Law Dictionary. You brought it up. I appreciate you mentioning.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were able to help people try to not let the labels take advantage of them. So it was like the smaller labels that had these contracts, or even some of the artists who had the bigger labels contracts that you were helping them with.
Some artists on bigger labels. I won't even like tell them. I
Oh, no,
can't say their names.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
okay.
They had representation, and I would show them how the representation they had was not working to their advantage.
Uh, You mean
You know,
their agent, right?
their agent, their manager, like this is what they're doing. This is what they're telling you, but this is what's happening. You know, one of my friends signed a whole bunch of artists in town, and I'm going to leave his name out too, but to major labels, and they kind of changed the course of music. But he didn't consult me, and sometimes it didn't necessarily work out as well as it could have. I think I'm not saying I'm the end all be all, but if you place your trust in me, I'll give 100%. That's what I'll say.
Well, you're not the first one that told me that the labels, well, not the labels, but the whole industry, they kind of force the artist to fit into a certain category so that it sells, but they make that category. There is they the people that I've talked to, they say that there is very good work out there, but it's not being promoted. It's not acceptable by the promoters who only want those the ones with the violence, etc.
So I'll try to give an answer to that without me being too long-winded because that's something I can give a 2-hour TED talk for. All right. Number one, industry. The idea of industrializing things is you take something that's free or to be used for the benefit of all humanity, and you put a price tag on it. You make yourself essentially a toll booth, you know? So when the rain falls, you feel like you should get paid for every raindrop. That's what, that's a sick state of mind that is prevalent in everything now. So everything has been industrialized. So it's not just military industrial complex or war, or prison. Everything is industrial complex right now. And that is a sickness. And, that's one thing we need to get rid of. As far as the labels are concerned, because of their industrialization, they are all about protecting their investment, and they're taking out life insurance on artists. And I can see, in a less than perfect world, I can see, sometimes, things that happen that would allow a beneficiary to collect a benefit, and you know, if they aren't helping that to happen, they certainly aren't helping it to stop. Let's just put it that way. And then, to speak to the other point, um, how there's an economic interest in everything. There's just, everything now is profit loss. So the best way to get people to like something is to show them that they can get paid for it, you know, or other people are getting paid. You could do that too, and you could get paid. So that's how you get all these copycats. The first guy to come out talking about killing people on tracks, I'm sure they didn't think this is going to be the wave of the future. But the way that they made it the wave of the future is they paid everyone else to do that. So now all these other kids who are suffering and they're poor figure, I want to get my mom out the ghetto. They're not just like, I want to go kill people. They want to escape their poverty. And the way that is presented to them to do it is to become this savage murder machine. And I'm going to do it better than the ones who came before me and prove that I can get the record deal. So that's the brass ring or the carrot that's hung out on the stick is this record deal. But you can only get it if you behave a certain way. And I think, I know that was done to sabotage future generations. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, so what could we do about this? I see that the way you are addressing it is you're emailing your tracks to a fellow artist and so that they could use them as they please. So that is a way to get your art out there. And how far has it extended? It's going past all around the world, correct?
Oh yeah, several times. Every so often I get a remix from wherever. You name the country. That that electronic file goes where I can. And yeah, you have to forego the money, but it's not about the money, the coin of the realm. Tell the universe that you need money and it'll come to you. I mean, look at what happened now just with like Bitcoin. You know, I'm not going to even talk about what I'm holding in Bitcoin or anything like that, but when you are so concentrated on one thing, then you miss the bigger picture. And there's so much other things going on. So don't worry about money you're going to make. Give your stuff out and let people become creative and let them express themselves and be thankful that you're a part of that process. That's what I told myself.
Mhm. Yes, that's how you're trying to be self-sufficient in other ways. So not just rely on your music, so that you are able to make a living.
Oh yeah, and even make more than a living. You don't deserve to just survive. You deserve to prosper. And once you tell yourself that, and enough people around you tell you that, then circumstances will change, and you'll see it in subtle ways.
So is that what the those artists that are good but are being repressed by the industry? Is that what they should have in their in the back of their minds? And what else could they do to overcome this repression in the industry in the recording industry?
Concentrate on what you want. That's the number one thing that anybody can do. Uh, Figure out what it is that you really want. Concentrate on that, and let your mind fill in the hows, because how is dangerous. You are being shown a way how that is detrimental to your well-being. Let your mind figure out how. Concentrate on what you want, and when you get a blessing, the first thing you should do is figure out how it can help other people. That's when you think about how. How can I how can I take this that I got and do something with it? I'm not going to give 90% of it to charity or whatever, but be very thoughtful. How can you help other people? And that's when you become part of the mechanism of the universe. You know what I mean? So it's inhale, exhale. And forgive me if I'm going way too far deep with it. But you inhale, don't think about how. When you exhale, this is what I'm going to do for other people. Think about how then. And when you do that, it creates a cosmic balance that will allow you to be a constructive member of society and universal order.
It also helps you sleep better at night too, maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. People aren't coming after me because they know that number one, I'm not getting in the way of the money they're making. Second, if I get some money, I'm giving as much as I can afford to right back to them, in ways that I see are constructive. So I'm not sitting here accumulating funds. There's nothing for you to come get. And I'm using what I have in the most healthy way I can think of. And that's how you always have money. Put yourself on that cycle and you'll see. And that's just from the money thing, you know. And that if you do that with anything, I don't care what it is, you'll find your way in the universe and you'll find a way to prosper. Because you deserve to prosper. And every night, before you go to bed, tell yourself, I deserve to prosper, and think about what you really want. We don't allow ourselves to dream. Allow yourself to dream and turn off that rational mind for just, a minute, and concentrate fully on your goals, and things start coming your way that you need to make it happen.
So those kids that are in poverty and are desperate to leave that poverty and get caught up with these record labels, what is your advice to them? And how do you have any idea about is there any way for that poverty to be alleviated so that these kids are not that desperate anymore?
So, number one, like the record labels, honestly, the record labels are not your worst enemy. Your worst enemy is a person next to you who will beat you up for getting straight A's and say you're trying to, be like white people or whatever. We're talking about poor kids in certain areas of Chicago. You know, your worst enemy is usually right next to you. Learn how to create a sense of civility with that person, and establish your boundaries. And also learn how to do things that will help them. So it's not in their best interest to antagonize you. So that mindset doesn't work with just escaping poverty and dealing with record labels. So by the time, if you've done this at your level, by the time you're dealing with record labels, it's easy because you understand when they're trying to take advantage of you. You're not driven by desperation, and you understand the nature of a win-win scenario, and you can establish that with a record label. And maybe you have somebody who will read the contract, and they'll advocate on your behalf. It'll probably be that same person who was bullying. You know what I mean? That's the idea of allowing the universe to aid you by knowing what you want from step one. And then when it comes to record labels, that's nothing. When it comes to police traffic stops, that's another thing. You increase your if you have a collaborative spirit with the universe, you increase your chances of surviving that encounter. It's not just a given that, cop pull you over, you're getting shot. But that's what these kids are being taught. They're being misinformed, miseducated at every step of at every step of the game. So they respond in the wrong way.
Right, and that gets them really shot.
Yeah, it can. Maybe, maybe you're lucky and it didn't. Listen, there was a time I almost got shot in a police situation, trying to hide my ID in the back seat because I was driving on a suspended license and I didn't want him to figure it out. He thought I was reaching. What are you reaching for? He pulled the thing out immediately in front of me, like it's in my face. And it's all my friends saw that. And they were upset at the police officer for it. But I didn't handle that situation right. I'm not saying that he was great for doing that, but I could have handled it better. I could have got my license together before I even got pulled over. I wouldn't have that to worry about, right? So at some level, start to accept responsibility for and come to grips with the circumstances you're in and just move forward honestly. And you increase your chances of prosperity. I know that's kind of a long, drawn out answer, but it has to be that way.
Well, you're coming from a point of wisdom. Some young kids, they first of all, they don't have enough experience. They don't have enough people telling them about what could happen that that could better inform them. And then they make mistakes, and they if they're lucky, they learn from their mistakes. If they're not lucky, then they're dead.
Exactly. And sometimes the people speaking to them are misinformed.
Right.
And then there's a trust issue. So somebody you trust tells you something, you're going to go with that 9 out of 10 times. So, the cycle continues. So it's in the interest of people who want to keep us down to misinform as many generations as possible. So that it's just a cycle of poverty, violence, stupidity. And from that, you can pick a cheap labor force because that's what you become when you end up in jail.
Right. But how do we deal with that? How could we correct this misinformation?
For me, my way of dealing with it was to write songs that I think, you know, can reach the subconscious and plant a seed that will at least cause you to care about the person next to you. It's the idea of civility. When you see somebody, you're not like, "Sup, dog? What's up?" You know what I'm saying? And that's just one community I'm talking about. But that's a community that is the economic flat tire of society. All right. When you see somebody, it's more like, "Hey, maximum respect, my brother." That's what people get from me. And if you think I'm a lame because of that, that's fine. That's your weakness. And later on, maybe you have to find out that such is not the case. But it won't be because I've decided to, do or say something violent. It'll probably be because I helped you out in a situation where you really needed it. You know, that's civility. The violence comes in if you're an immediate threat to myself or to something, not even myself, but somebody I care about. And now we have to go to a different level. But if that's not the case, then you understand you're not dealing with an enemy. You're dealing with a confused individual. And if you just show some love from your heart, go out on the limb and do that, not weakness, just, love for humanity, then maybe you'll get that back.
That's good to instill. It's a good seed to sow.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, Zulu, MC Zulu, if our listeners want to learn more about you, where should they go?
You can go to mczulu.com and keep it simple. Everything links from there.
Okay. And that's another website that you created after the other website was hacked.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I brought it all back. When they try and kick you down, it's more of a warning. So I stopped talking so much about I could put this thought pattern towards self-healing and healing the nation. But before I was a investigative reporter on the political side, and there's that's kind of disruptive to industrial concerns, and they will stop you by any means necessary. So I looked at that as kind of a warning, and just started concentrating on myself.
And what about when was that happened?
That happened in 2016, and I've been keeping my blog from 2007, I believe. So 8, 9 years of blog history has gone down the drain, you know.
Oh,
But
you
whatever, I'm sorry, go ahead.
you had a lot of these investigations on your blog, but then now they're gone. Is that what
Oh
you?
yeah, they're gone. They're even gone from from it's something where they save the archive of the Wayback Machine, I believe.
Yes.
A lot of that stuff, yeah, a lot of that stuff is gone. My Wikipedia page is certainly gone. And I'm not going to say I invented electro reggae. I was just, out there doing it in the early 90s before it was a thing. Just the idea that you could sing to anything. You can sing to anything.
Well, I think that you were singing to a lot of things, and then you wanted to create a thread to bring the everything together, and that's how you put it under the label of electro reggae, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because they were trying to figure out what to call it.
Uh,
Like if you sing dance hall to house music, what is that? Nobody knew. Then a few songs came out. I like to move it, and people are like, okay, I get it. So yeah, I'm not going to say originator, but pioneer. I'll settle for that.
Okay. Thank you so much, MC Zulu, for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today. And those emails that you sent with some of your links, why don't you send some of those to me as well, and we'll include them on the description of this interview.
Sounds good. I appreciate everything.
Thank you.